So Eva did a little intro. Building on that, I have 14 years of experience in big FMCG, OTC, and tech companies. So I have touched a lot of both brand marketing and performance marketing. You can see a few of the brands I worked for in the slide, and there are a few more that I consulted for. Yeah, so Eva told you about my my blog and my activity on LinkedIn. So feel free to invite me if you like this presentation. If not as well, tell me what you didn't like. But I hope you will actually enjoy it. So what is it going to be about? So my objective is to give you in today's discussions and session an evidence-based foundation on combining both brand and performance marketing, not only in e-commerce, although I will have also some examples and insights on, specifically on e-commerce. So I'm pretty confident that part of the insights will surprise you. Some of them will give you details that you might have not been aware of, and some will simply confirm your intuition with data. But data is something that glues everything together. I will try to answer 3 fundamental questions that you see in this slide. So is brand marketing a must? What determines if communication is brand or performance marketing? And how long does it take to see the impact of brand marketing? Yeah, so starting with the first. I have actually a really short answer, which is no. You can grow your business successfully using performance marketing, using performance marketing only. And I think if you worked for e-commerce e-commerce brands or in general digital products, this is something you have seen. There is a but though, and it's called performance plateau. The model you see in the slide, it's a model by Dr. Grace Kite. She's an owner of Magic Numbers. It's a consulting and research company that focuses a lot on scale-up. This is also my area of interest. And she's an author of many valuable analysis. So what you see here is actually a theoretical model, but I find it very practical. So because this is something I have seen a couple of times in practice. So what exactly is this performance plateau? So performance plateau is a moment where you are not able to scale your business, your marketing activities purely with performance channels anymore, despite increasing your investments. So maybe this is something you have seen in your cases as well, when you increase your budgets, your investments, and the conversions barely or simply don't follow. It is actually a live example of the law of diminishing returns, and in practice, it means that your audience potential saturates. So, or maybe to be more precise, this cheap audience potential or potential of the audience that is responsive to direct response communication. So when you get there, when you get to the performance plateau, I'm saying, and this is also what Grace Kite is saying, that it is a must to be able to continue to scale in the long run. Okay, but there is another question, like if not only if it is a must, but is it actually worth it, regardless of the performance plateau? I have 2 pieces of data that can lead you to an answer. So my answer is yes. And the first piece of data comes from FOSFA report. This is a company that provides an attribution platform, a pretty big one. And they have an excellent newsletter on e-commerce, by the way, highly recommended. So what the report is showing is that brands with 25% of overall meta spend, because this report focuses on meta, if 25% of the whole spend is invested in top of the funnel, these brands generate much higher ROI in the long run and much lower CAC versus brands that don't do that. I think the figures are pretty impressive. And this is the first piece of data. The second one is actually a real case study, and it comes of one of the companies I worked with. It illustrates synergy effect between brand awareness, that is in blue in this chart, and mobile cost of customer acquisition, which is in green. By the way, this is exactly what FOSFA report has been showing. With one exception, this is obviously a multi-channel case, because awareness is like not a channel specific, not necessarily channel specific thing. And yeah, and I have one or two more case studies like this, but I think what I have shown you is directionally proves the point. So I guess we answered the first question. We can move to the second one. So what determines if communication is brand or performance marketing? Let's start with the basics, like basic distinction. So brand marketing, known as top of the funnel, is aimed at building mental availability in the long run. Mental availability is something that you can know from Biosharp, How Brands Grow book, while performance is built for direct response. So you expect a conversion in a short term, certain reaction to the ad. So what exactly makes my ad one or another type? Again, there's a simple equation. It is determined by placement and creative in that specific order. That is super important. So let's start with explaining why placement goes first. So here, I'm going to support myself with data coming from one of the biggest authorities in attention measurement, Dr. Karen Nelson-Field from Australia. She's an author of Amplified Intelligence research agency. And what you see here is that one of her key conclusions that an ad needs to generate minimum 2.5 seconds of attention to build mental structures. The more, of course, the longer your message stays with the audience. I think that pretty much makes sense. But what is more important is that based on comparison of creatives for various brands across various channels, she has proven that the placement consistently drives the difference in the attention span. So it is a placement that decides whether the most, like, it's a fundamental for the communication to be brand marketing to be able to build mental structures. And the placement channels actually do differ heavily. Here you can see data from another source, like Women Research from UK, showing average attention span per one contact in various channels. Like there are several more in the analysis. I'm showing only 3 of them. And you can see how big is the difference. Of course, the result of 6.4 seconds doesn't for TV doesn't mean that every contact with an ad on TV generates this 6.4 seconds of attention, but it's the average. So you have a higher chance of having a quality contact generated by TV than the Instagram story. So, okay, I think the data on placement is pretty strong. So now moving to the creative. Well, actually, you can do or screw the job here as well. So back to the distinction I showed in the first slide of this section. Brand communication, brand marketing is more emotional. It has stronger branding cues, and you would rather use audio video format here rather than static, rational, product-oriented performance ads. Of course, you can have, I don't know, out of home awareness campaign, which is static. Of course, you can have stronger product role, but this is let's say what dominates for these two types. And I have a super example from e-commerce world, which is Allegro, a dominant brand in Poland. So I think if you live in Poland, most of you know the Allegro Christmas campaigns. They are super emotional. I think they started a few years back. This is purely brand communication. And on the right side of this channel, you see the purely performance communication, focus on product with the price. One of them is with the price. And by the way, what is excellent thing here is that they are linking the bottom of the funnel with top of the funnel, which helps the brand. Yep. So another supporting question, deep dive question, is: can you do both? This is one of the discussions I have seen on LinkedIn, and I also was involved on LinkedIn recently. So again, short answer is yes, and again there is a but. So the but is that it can only work one way, at least according to System 1 data, which specializes in measuring creative's effectiveness. And to be more specific, only brand marketing can serve the purpose of the direct response, not the other way around. So 98% of qualified, so well tested top of the funnel ads also were well tested for short-term response. There is another but though. The other but is the fact that it is extremely difficult to build a strong awareness campaign that works in short term. In general, it's quite difficult to build super strong awareness campaign, because how many cases of an awareness campaign you know that you would expect to drive more or as much sales, installs, or new customers as an aggressive performance marketing or a sales activation investment in the short term? Unless, of course, you are in performance plateau situation, that's a different story. My take on this is that while data indicates that it is possible to have short-term effects for good brand marketing campaign, there is always a predominant character of the ad. It's that if it's an awareness campaign, it's mostly an awareness campaign. It can help with the short term, but it's mostly an awareness campaign. Also, performance campaign to some extent, to little extent, I would say, can support awareness building, like you could see in our other example. But there's always one dominant effect. That's not something based super on data. That's my conclusion from the leads. Okay, so we talked about distinguishing brand and performance marketing. Now it's time for the third question. So how long does it take to see the impact of the brand marketing? Back to FOSFA analysis. So I told you that after 10 months, those figures that I have shown, they were results after 10 months, average results after 10 months. So what the report was also showing is that 3 months is not long enough. So it's not that you see gradual positive impact over the months. No, there is a certain point between 3 and 10 months after launching brand marketing actions that brings you tangible results. So it is not a direct answer to the question, but let's say gives you certain span. So what do other sources say? And again, here I have a case study from one of the apps I worked with, where we compared TV pressure over the last 6 months, where we compared co-marketing activity, co-marketing promotion, very short-term thing, and digital share of voice. So again, digital pressure, very short-term thing, very direct response tools. We also compared other things, other channels, but just to bring the example, we checked the correlation. Correlation was similar with correlation with share of downloads, which was one of the key KPIs. It is a correlation though, and it doesn't have to be a causality. For example, I found online that there is a statistical association between the number of people who drowned by falling into a pool and the number of films Nicolas Cage appeared in a given year. So correlation is not a causality. It's super important. So what we did is we ran a regression model where we compared again a few more variables and their impact, their influence on share of downloads. And it turns out that the TV pressure over the last 6 months was by far the strongest factor. Those other factors were much less significant. And we also tested for shorter periods of TV pressure. So, checking the regression model for 3 months, for 1 month, but the 6 months was the strongest. So it leads me, those 2 pieces of data leads me to a conclusion that it takes 6 to 9 months to have full impact from brand marketing, assuming it's being consequently and well executed, of course. You might see cases where it hits sooner, but you can also see cases where it doesn't deliver at all because of the placement or creative quality. Like the brand marketing is a very tricky thing, and it's very difficult to have a binary answer. Very simple answer. So this is more indicative, I would say. Cool. So third question answered. I think I'm pretty much on time. So yeah, super happy. So third question answered. So it's time for the summary. If I were to point out 3 things from my presentation that I'd like to stick with you, it would be, first of all, you don't have to do brand marketing. You can scale with performance marketing successfully up to a certain point, but it is worth it to launch brand marketing even before you hit the performance plateau. It is dependent on placement and creative, whether your ad is brand or performance marketing, but placement goes first. And yeah, remember about it. The first thing, indicative data suggests that it usually takes 6 to 9 months to wait for brand marketing results to kick in. So yeah, so you need to, if you decide to do that, you need patience for sure, but it's worth it.